Today's starting nine, Jake and Carl come out of a long Memorial Day weekend to recap some personal stories, along with some major weekend news. The slap heard around the world, Paul Goldschmidt's hit streak, Jesus Sanchez's bomb, to name a few. It's award season around here. It's Tuesday. That means award season. There's also some power rankings this time around, a division roundup, a couple new segments, and most importantly, a great show. Let's get into it. Action! Hey, welcome back to Starting Nine, presented by Barstool Sports. It is Carl here in Chicago, Colin Cooper on the ones and twos, and my partner in crime, Jake Arrieta, down in Austin, Texas. What's going on, guys?
Well, it's good to be back. Feels like it's been a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You want to
say it? You want to say it? I'll say it. I missed you guys.
A lot. I was having a blast, as I'm sure you guys were, but I really did miss y'all's faces.
Now, we were getting some video updates from you. You were out on the ranch for Memorial Day weekend. Now, I don't know if people know this about you, but you are very much an outdoorsman. You got some property, some acreage, some would say, some toys, and you're working on the ranch.
Yeah, well, we actually weren't at our place. We were at Lackey's property in West Texas, but ours is getting going. We're doing a lot of work out there. We can't really stay out there right now because we're redoing the hunting cabin. I mean, we can, but I mean, you don't know Brittany that well yet. You'll get to know her. The hunting cabin doesn't have AC. It's 105 degrees here. I told her, look, it's like camping. We can go out there. We can stay, leave the doors open. I mean, there are snakes and scorpions and tarantulas and coyotes and bobcats, but I mean, it's okay. It's okay. So we were at Lackey's property, enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a great time. Our family, their family, some of their friends from Abilene were out there. And just really enjoying the Memorial Day weekend. It was a blast. We got to get you guys out there. We'll get you out of the city. We'll get some rifles in your hand. We'll shoot some pigs, put them on the barbecue. We'll have some fun.
Speaking of barbecue, I got a big green egg this weekend. You have a couple of big ones.
Yeah, and you don't, like you said, you don't necessarily need the big one. It depends on who you're cooking for. And I'm assuming it's just you and mama, maybe a couple friends. For the majority of the time you're firing that thing up, but I had two of the large ones and they came in really handy. We got the extra large one for the new house, just so if you have 10 15 people over, you kind of need it. But there's no better way to cook, especially on charcoal, than the green egg. I know there's some other ones out there that try and imitate the green egg, but you can't replicate it. It's just the best. So what do you think of it so far?
Yeah, it's been a good experience. I've enjoyed it. I like starting small and then wanting to get the bigger one. Like I want to get to a point where I'm like, damn, if I had a large or an XL and all the stuff I could do with it. Square footage is an issue. I'm also, like you said, I'm just cooking. It's just me and Mrs. Carl. So I'm not really making, I'm not like, you go to the barbecue store too. It's funny. That's a very intimidating.
It's overwhelming
if you don't know what you're doing, and they're just instantly they don't. There's no beginner experience for them. They just walk in. They're like, "Wait, what are you smoking? How much big old charcoal smoke would y'all need?" Like I thought it was in Wilmette. These people, it's amazing how much.
Now, did they try and get you into something else or a different size? What did they show you?
So
you knew exactly. I want the egg.
Yeah,
I'm going straight for the egg.
I knew what I was doing going in there, which I recommend for anybody anytime you're spending more than like a couple $100 on a purchase. Like don't go in there too open-minded. And then I posed the question on Twitter. We had some back and forth. And so a friend of the show reached out and was like, hey, I'll give you some expertise, which, I might have casually interpreted as a big discount. Didn't happen, but it's still good to go there and get the customer service and the excellent service that I needed. And
it feels like a discount.
It felt like a discount, basically. Yeah. I would have paid extra for the level of detail. And then I'll give him credit because when I went in, the guy's like, well, we got to start with the large first. And I was like, we're actually going to start with the small version.
Yeah. Back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Back it up. Back it up.
And Charlie was responsive and it was a good experience. So like you said, we got to get some meat. Let's fucking get some meat for this green egg.
We'll fire some meat up. Can you fit a brisket on there? A small one?
Yes, I can. And the boys down at Plina Market, the butchers, were more than happy to cut some stuff up for
There
me.
you go.
And so they're going to help me out as I get going in this experience. I'm a novice. I'm learning. I have
Yeah.
no problem ever admitting I don't really know what I'm doing.
I burned a brisket or two and some ribs. It's going to happen. The first time I tried to do a brisket, I tried to do it overnight. So I set it up at, let's say 9, 10 o'clock and tried to go like 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours. Had it set at 225, 230. And I come out there in the morning and it's like 290. And it just totally ruined it. They have like a fan that you can attach to the bottom. So it'll kind of, it'll help you keep the temperature stable. I haven't gotten one of those yet. But it's probably something to look into. That's probably the thing I would say is the most difficult, is just to maintain a consistent temperature. Because you know how it is, if you're trying to do ribs or brisket and the temperature, goes up 40, 50 degrees, it could totally ruin the whole thing. So, and just from my experience, having to watch that thing like a hawk kind of sucks, but you don't want to mess up a brisket if you're trying to cook it for, 14, 15 hours.
One step ahead of you, got the airflow filter, haven't set it up
Good.
yet. There's like an app on the phone.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to spend $250 on that appliance than it is to then set up the app on my phone. I'm out like anytime. And now everything comes with an app on the phone. So I got to work on that. We talked about being novices.
Yeah.
Speaking of some novice activity, our guy Colin might have had a little sex this weekend.
Might have. No,
Might have.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what you want me to say. I was clapping cheeks all weekend. I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, he was kind of pissed when you sent that text. I feel like, he's like,
I wasn't pissed. It was just
we
the
were
wording.
acting like it's something he doesn't do frequently.
It was just the wording of Carl's text. I was like, come on. I mean, make it seem like I've done this before.
He's a cheek clapper.
Yeah.
Now we know.
I'm not asking you guys I'm not asking you guys to celebrate every time you have sex, but if you have good sex, let me know. If you have like a good round, don't be afraid to throw a text out to the boys afterwards. And this isn't necessarily like conquest or achievement. It's like, if you guys, Jake, you shoot a 75, you better fire off a little text to me, Colin.
No, it's not going to, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
I just don't want to be blowing your phone up all the time, Carl.
Whoa, let the big man's coming through. See, maybe.
Okay.
All right. We'll keep that.
Okay.
We'll put that I'm putting that note in the folder for later, Kyle. All right. We got to get into some weekend news. Before we do, though, there is one last personal thing that kind of popped up that does cross over to baseball. I think is interesting. So your best buddy's the head coach at Texas State.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's watch the regional selection show. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. It's a very exciting time for, the college atmosphere, and just kind of brings back some memories. One of my teammates is the head coach at Texas State, Stephen Trout. They set a school record for wins this year, school record for wins in the conference. They had conference player of the year, which is the first time since Goldschmidt in 2009. So congratulations to Stephen Trout. Very excited for them. They're going to the Texas A&M. Texas State is going to the Stanford Regional, which was a little surprising. I thought they might stay a little more local. I'm going to do everything I can to get out to see one of their games. It's going to conflict a little bit with my two other teams that I'm pulling for. Texas A&M, the head coach is Jim Schlossnagle, who was my coach at TCU. Just a great man. And they're hosting in College Station. My school, TCU, will be in that regional, matched up with Louisiana for the first game. So I'm kind of torn. I'm pulled in multiple directions. We are going to be in Omaha, like we talked about, for the College World Series. So I am very hopeful that at least one of those teams make it, so we can watch them play live.
Yeah. And maybe sneak like a little 15, 20-minute interview if we're down there, grab some mics and just say, hey, let's promo the program here. Get a little behind the scenes College World Series. It's an amazing spectacle that week in Omaha. Or I should say,
I've never been. I never went to the old stadium, and I haven't been to the new College World Series stadium. So I'm very excited about that. I'm assuming you went to the previous one, and have you been to the new one yet?
So I've been to the old Rosenblatt, not for the College World Series, just stopping through on my way. We're just traveling west. And then I went last year for 2 weeks. I went last year. I was supposed to go for 2 days and just cover just a couple games, do a day of radio
for 2 weeks.
And then I ended up living in a Penn National sports book in Council Bluffs, Iowa for 2 weeks. It was wonderful. Great food. Go check out the Council Bluffs, Iowa Sportsbook. We're now doing signups in Iowa too. So that's important. People like when we do that.
There's got to be great food out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like just steaks everywhere.
The meat.
There's
Really
gonna be
quality.
A ton of meat.
USDA Prime. So that's a great transition into the weekend, some weekend big news. All right. You're a caring guy. You're a good guy. You put yourself in a fantasy football league with the boys. I don't see yourself freaking out too hard. Tommy Pham, on the other hand, like I said in the intro, it's a slap heard around the world. Jock Peterson, a guy who's gotten a lot of love on the show from you. He's supposed to be a cool guy. I haven't met him. Golfer. I think he made it into your golf started 9, and it's kind of a hilarious situation. I should actually change that. It is one of the funniest things I've witnessed in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, funny and unfortunate at the same time. I love Jock. You know, I played with Tommy briefly in San Diego. I played against him. I like Tommy a lot too. I have no problem with him. You know, a pretty stupid thing to do, though, if you ask me, for multiple reasons. I kind of knew about the whole fantasy thing last year. I didn't know to the depths of what was going on. I'm not a fantasy guy. I don't really give a shit about fantasy football. I have played before. I would have a GM that kind of helped me through it. I just, especially during the season and even in the off season, I don't feel like I have time to do all this homework and watch the shit. But I know how serious it gets. I really do, especially when guys are putting up the kind of money they are for these leagues. But if Jock was doing something that was within the rules, then it's kind of stupid in my opinion. And with Tommy, look, I mean, he gets intense about things, and he said he doesn't like people fucking with his money. But if it was within the rules, then what are you talking about? And then to go out there and to slap the dude, you know, during BP. Man, it's a bad move. It really is. Like if you have something to say that hasn't been said in text, like talk to the guy off the field. And why are you hitting him? You know, it just looks real bad.
So were you in the Padres locker room like during draft time? Like, or in the clubhouse? I mean, they're like, "Hey, Jake, you want to be the 10th guy in this league?" Or
man. So technically, when would the draft have taken place? When does that typically happen? I don't know if I was
mid-August is a popular time. Mid to late August is a popular time.
Maybe I was around. No, I wasn't at the draft, but I've been to a lot of these things. And they're fun as shit. I've had a blast, you know, being at some of these fantasy drafts. Again, it's not necessarily for me. I don't know fucking half the players that are drafted, and you know that's on me. But that's why I don't do it. Yeah, look, Tommy, like, you can't be doing that shit. Like you're gonna end up, you know, fucking yourself and finding yourself playing in Mexico if you do this kind of shit. Honestly, teams aren't gonna stand, like, they're not going to put up with that kind of stuff as a distraction. So I know you don't like people fucking with your money, but you can't be slapping people in the face.
Is there any even like
on the field?
What about like anything at all where you could say is there any coach in the Padres dugout who's like, "Yeah, nice, slap that fucking San Francisco Giant. You know, we're in a fucking pennant. You know, sorry, we're in a pennant. Is there any type of that grizzly attitude there? Where it's like, yeah, whatever. He plays for the Giants.
Yeah, I'm sure that there were some people out there that liked it. But no, it's just not a good move. It's not a good move. No matter which way you look at it, it's a lose-lose for Tommy.
But you can't say that you don't like people fucking with your money and go and slap someone, then you get a 3-game suspension and lose over $100,000 for it. Like,
well, and Tommy, look,
money fucked with right there.
One of the comments, and I would like to get Tommy on the show and talk to him about it. We'll reach out to Pham, because look, he is a good guy. I think he's misunderstood. You know, one of the comments he made early in the year when he was struggling about how he's just there to put up numbers and he's looking out for himself. And again, like that's totally fine. We all know that you want to put up numbers and you want to perform and you want to get a job for next season. But again, it's just, how does that look to the guys in your clubhouse or to your organization? It's just not a good move. It doesn't sit well with really anybody. And then now he's kind of turning it around. He's swinging it better. And then you just draw this negative attention to yourself that's unnecessary. And like I said, there's a much better way to handle it. And I know Tommy, you know, he can get angry, but I've been around him a lot, and he's a good dude to be around. So it's just kind of one of those head scratching things, like, you know, why take it this far when it's not going to do, it's only going to, you know, bring negativity upon yourself and the team, you know? So yeah, I got it just as being a really bad move.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with the Tommy Pham, like with his background and all, I think maybe Sports Illustrated or somebody did a deep dive into like his kind of journey and some of the struggles he had with St. Louis, with like mental health and stuff, and how he had kind of like battled through it and stuff. So he's definitely a polarizing character, interesting guy. And
man, he was fucking hard for me to get out when he was in St. Louis. The guy can really hit, you know, he is a nice player. So just some of this other stuff can distract and take away from your ability to just go out and play the game of baseball. And, you know, if he has, you know, some issues with mental health, and I hope that he's able to take care of all that, because that's a serious deal. But whatever you got to do just to focus on baseball and put that other shit, you know, behind you, and keep that private. You know, if there's an issue with a guy, keep it private if you can, because now it's just some unnecessary attention drawn to not only yourself but your team that you don't need.
Okay, so from one guy drawing a lot of attention to somebody who is very quietly on a massive streak, I think 21 game hit streak, 32 on base streak. Paul Goldschmidt is putting on a clinic right now for the Cardinals. He's been awesome over the last, we'll just say the month of May. Paul Goldschmidt, to me, I mean, just one of the most quiet but explosive swings in the game. It's just so quiet, steady. And then at the very last second, the ball's over the back part of the plate, and he just rips it to right center field. I could watch Paul Goldschmidt play. You brought him up earlier. Mm-hmm. I actually played against him in college, and I remember, I think it was 4 for 5 with 4 doubles, all just rockets into the gap. Paul Goldschmidt, love watching Paul Goldschmidt play. And there's my biscuit to Cardinals fans. I don't hate you guys that much.
He's such a professional. He's such a good guy. He just fits in so well in that St. Louis organization. He hit a walk-off grand slam. It was a few days ago, and I think it was in an 0-2 count against a really tough lefty. And I think he was 0 for 4. I think he was 0 for up to that point. And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's not pressured by the situation. He's got, like you said, a very quiet swing. A lot of times he doesn't even really have a stride. He's just kind of hands are back. His weight is loaded on the backside. And then he just, at the very last second, he just goes. It's a beautiful swing. I remember game planning for him, you know, probably more than any hitter in whatever lineup he was in, because he is a game changer, and he can make a difference in the game with one swing, regardless of what type of game he's had up until that point. He's a very dangerous hitter. So not a surprise to see what he's doing at all.
And a good influence for Nolan Gorman, who is really settling into his major league debut. He's put up some impressive numbers. Nolan Gorman being the second baseman for the Cardinals, who's a top prospect that the Cardinals drafted out of, or we'll just say acquired as a young teenager, and has developed through their system. Now he's playing, he's through, I want to say 9 games, so some pretty interesting numbers. The slugging percentage is high. He's done very well to start. He's hit safely in 4 and 9 games. Here's an interesting thing, though, to keep an eye on Nolan Gorman. In the 5 games he hasn't hit safely, he's made 16 plate appearances, drawing 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. So the strikeout rate's through the roof. This was something he had in the minor leagues, but he's one of these players where it's like, it's clearly like the new age. You know, Joey Gallo is kind of the first guy to be the true 3 outcome player, but this Nolan Gorman really settling in as a big strikeout, or hit the ball hard as hell kind of guy. And it's interesting to see how he slides in that lineup, because you've got other great, like, veteran hitters and stuff. So now you can kind of put him at the back and just be like, dude, just let it rip. Just let it rip.
Well, man,
like when the Cubs had Addison Russell came in as a rookie, like, there's no pressure. Just go to the back of the lineup and kind of get used to it.
Well, it just seems like the Cardinals just continue to generate players like this. You know, he's got a beautiful left-handed swing. I mean, what is he hitting? He's hitting 375, 380 something. And and 31 at bats. Just impressive. I mean, when guys in this organization get to the big leagues, they're ready to go. They're ready to play. And it's no surprise that the Cardinals continue to generate guys like this.
Did you see Jesus Sanchez bomb in Coors Field?
We talked about it, and I was like, man, I missed it because I'm out. We were out in the middle of nowhere. Didn't have a lot of service, but then I get back into town and kind of catch up on all the baseball that I missed. In Coors Field, I mean, yes, the ball's going to fly a little bit further there, but he absolutely landed on that fucking ball. Absolutely landed on it. Inside pitch, just barreled it about as clean as you can. Yeah, I mean, just absolutely mashed. It almost left the entire stadium.
Yeah, 496 clears the Vegas record. I think not the Vegas record. The prop for this year was 495.5. Sanchez with 496 clears it before we even see June. And again, I just want to go back to this. The whole balls are dead movements over some of the scores that are going up is absolutely gigantic. I think at this point, the balls are dead stuff you can look at as an experiment as they get into October. Or
they
when
brought the juice balls back. I believe that they're doing that. They might bring in balls that are dead, and then they throw juice ones out for the next series or the next game, or they don't put them in the humidor, or they put them in for a short period of time. They don't tell you what they're doing. But I think it was a week ago, I'm watching some games, and it just sounds different coming off the bat. It sounded a lot different, and I don't know if that's indicative of different baseballs, but the balls were definitely flying a lot further too.
Couple other things quick. Our guy Alcantara from Miami, 14 strikeouts, huge strikeout number. Again, Miami, this is one of these rotations. Now, whether or not they end up making some kind of wild card run, they're the type of team that just can mess with the NL East. Like if the Braves are starting to get hot, then they got to go in and play 3 at Miami. That's tough to do. Or if the Mets start to slow down and you see them with a 4-game set against Miami, like that could be tough, Colin. I'm saying Marlins are a team that can get in the way because the starting pitching's been that good.
They have the ability to do that with their starting pitching, but then again, like they're 8 games or so under 500. They'll win a few, they'll look really good, and then they do the exact opposite. So it's kind of an anomaly, really, because they do have the arms to get the job done. Some of them are pretty young, but I mean, they're fun to watch. Alcantara, like he's an ace. He's an absolute ace. You haven't. I don't know if we've seen many strikeout games in that vicinity. So that's really fun to watch. But who knows, man? I don't necessarily think the Marlins will do much. I think the Mets are probably gonna run away with that division, and that's probably something Colin really loves to hear. And he knows it.
Yeah, it's tough to see where the Marlins are 10 games under 500, but they're bottom 10 in the league, but they're top 10 ERA, hits allowed, earned runs allowed, walks, strikeouts. I mean, they're a very much a dominant staff. And if they could ever figure out a way to get more guys like Jazz, into that lineup. And listen, I think at this point, we know the Mets are running away with that NL East, and we're going to get to some of the division standing stuff in a little bit after we do some awards. But just right now, there's a couple other things I just want to get our audience and get people thinking about player specific stuff that's happened over the last week that I'm interested in. And there's just a couple other quick ones on here. Framber Valdez, a starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, a lefty, a guy who's really kind of emerged this year, particularly his last couple starts. This guy is electric on the road. And I love seeing a guy who's awesome on the road. I mean, he's still good at home, but he is just absolutely nasty on the road. And it's kind of funny to go back to the Kevin Gossman interview, and he was like, it's actually kind of easier to get, not easier, but there's less distractions on the road if you've got family life going on or if you've got stuff going on. So it's always a starting pitcher that goes on the road, absolutely dominates. Framber Valdez is a guy, if you see him, like a pick him in a game, maybe he's pitching on the road at the Angels or the Yankees or something. He's very talented. His last 4 starts, he's pitched at least 7 innings. And ERA is down around 2.5. He's taking steps forward for the Astros. It's like the Astros can get rid of all these players. It doesn't matter every year. The Astros get rid of guys and then just somebody steps up And Valdez is one of these guys to me. We'll see. Be interesting if he could keep it going through June while the weather really gets warm. The Astros are hot too. So
yeah, he's nasty. I mean, he's got one of the best sinkers in the game, and it's coming from the left side. I mean, I think he's only had one bad start this year, and it was early in April, I believe. I mean, he's got a whip of 1 when he's throwing that sinker. And this is the thing with sinkers that are that good. And for a lot of my career, what I would try and do is I would just try and throw the sinker middle of the plate down, because I knew that guys were going to have a really difficult time trying to elevate that pitch. And, with a sinker like his, that's all you got to do. You pitch down with that in the strike zone, guys are going to hit the ball on the ground. They're going to swing and miss. And then he's got 2 good breaking balls. And that's what you're going to get. I mean, it's almost a Zach Britton-esque sinker as a starting pitcher. So, yeah, I mean, he's a really good one. He's got a lot of postseason experience, and he's one of the key components that's going to help that, rotation go, especially with with him and a guy like Verlander up there.
Okay, last weekend thing, Colin, I asked you to prepare this. We were going to have you start it, but you're going to close it now. What happened with Nick Castellanos, our guy with the Reds? It seems like our guy with the Phillies, it seems like anytime someone wants to say something serious on air, he just wants to ruin your moment.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he went deep again. We were explaining to Jake, which I'm surprised he hasn't seen the clip, but classic, iconic clip back when Castellanos was on the Reds. There was an apology going on, and he hit a home run out to left field. And in the middle of the apology, if you're an MLB fan, this, the announcer had to stop and do the home run call. So it's just kind of an iconic clip. And apparently that happened again this weekend.
Yeah, Memorial Day. We were sitting here talking about sacrifice and I mean, I should say we weren't. The broadcaster was, talking about Memorial Day very seriously, and the context of being an American and being proud, I suppose. Right when Nick Castellanos wanted to take one deep out to left, the guy has just like a reckless abandon for a moment like that. Like if it's a sensitive moment and Nick Castellanos is in the box, like
He knows.
Do not
you feel like he knows.
It's one of the great internet memes too, where it won't even happen, but they'll just be like random situations and someone will tweet out like a very sentimental tweet, and then it'll just end up with, and there's a drive to deep left field. So it's really taken over. It's very funny.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Phillies though?
The bullpen's awful. I mean, struck this from our headline, but
it's hard. It's hard to like continuously be that bad though. And you just feel bad. Yeah, you got to feel bad for Harper, right? My God, the guy's trying to carry the team. They just won't let him.
How bad's their bullpen?
It's not good. I mean, they have good arms too, that's why it doesn't make sense. Sometimes like these things, it just seems like they're cursed. No matter what they do, nobody can seem to get it done. You kind of have a sense at a certain point that things just are going to continue to go poorly for whatever reason. And that might be the most frustrating part of a team that's struggling, is when, your starting pitching is doing okay. Your offense is getting the job done, at least to a certain extent, keeping you in the game. You got Harper, multiple time MVP. They've got a good lineup, and then they have the lead in the 7th or 8th inning, and they just somehow let it slip away. Probably the most demoralizing thing that can happen to a team is when you have a lead late and the guys, come in and continue to give that up, and nobody feels good about it. It's the last guy that wants to give up a run is the guy in the bullpen, right? You're watching the game for 7 or 8 innings with a lead, or the lead exchanges hands multiple times. You go in the game with a 1-run lead and you give it up. I mean, it's probably the worst feeling in the world. I didn't pitch out of the bullpen other than a couple of times early in my career, but I can imagine how difficult that is for a bullpen. Because I remember many times sitting in the clubhouse, after a start, say we're in there, I threw the ball well, and a guy comes in out of the bullpen, gives it up, and you see them walk in the clubhouse after the game, and just how frustrated and sad that they are, and they come to you and apologize. It's a shitty situation, and you feel bad for them. and you're not sure, what has to happen for that to change. What do you do to fix it?
Right.
You keep running them out there. I mean, it's not like you're going to just completely reload the bullpen, because I'm sure that they like a lot of the guys that they have out there.
Okay, weekend news. That's it. Weekend news. That's a little healthy roundup for long weekend with Memorial Day weekend. We do have some awards. We do have some division standings roundup. We're going to get to some structured segments here. But first, I want to say thank you to our good friends at Rollback for sponsoring this episode. Rollback is a unisex apparel company that's all about fit, style, feel. Whether you're on the course or you're going to the game, guys, it's breathable and moisture wicking with epic patterns. Jake, I believe you are a Rollback guy. I see you wearing a lot of Rollback.
I am a Rollback guy. Yeah. Well, I got several pieces in not too long ago. I mean, the hoodies are unbelievably soft. Have you put one of those on yet?
Yeah, I've worn a hoodie. I have enjoyed the hoodie, and I also know you have a big threshold when it comes to wearing stuff with sleeves. So this must be a really good product.
Well, and I was just about to bring this up, and I don't think Rollback would mind too much. They sent me a few hoodies. I'm probably going to cut the sleeves off one of them. I'm going to use that as my warm up hoodie at the gym, and then we'll shed it because it's it's 107 here. So I do need to cut the sleeves off one of them. But in the fall, man, on top of one of those polos, we're going to look pretty fresh.
We are. And you can see I got some golf stuff on. I love playing golf. I'm going to be wearing the Rollback on the course this year. There's new releases coming out just in time for Father's Day. All our happy fathers out there, go to rollback.com, use the code STARTING for 20% off your first order. Get it for your dad, get it for your brother, get it for somebody celebrating Father's Day. Get them some nice apparel. Let's go to rollback.com. That's RHOBACK.com for 20% off all performance polos, quarter zips, tees, and hoodies with code STARTING. That's starting for 20% off. Rollback stuff. Thank you. Weekly awards. I'm going to start. I got dude of the week, and I'm obviously taking Jock Peterson's the fucking dude of the week. There's other guys who played better. Mookie Betts had a better week. Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor. But Jock Peterson, I'm just going to read this off to you. 5 home runs in 27 plate appearances over 7 games, 13 RBIs, an 11% walk rate, a 313 BABIP, which is okay, hitting 400, a 500 OBP, 1,000 slugging, blah, 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 blah. Here's your numbers, Jock. The numbers aren't why Jock Peterson's the dude of the week. It's obviously the game where he went, hit the 3 big jacks, went to McCovey Cove. I think 3 of the biggest win probability added plays of the month of May belong to Jock Peterson, strictly from that series against the Mets. This is a guy who got slapped in the face and owned it in the media, was a champ. The way he addressed it in the media was just so sweet, like pulling up.
Yeah, that's what Jock does.
Jock.
Yeah.
That's a dude.
Everybody loves Jock. And you know what's really impressive about the way that Jock's swinging the bat is his ability to get to the inside pitch as well as he is, at high velocity on the inside part of the plate. That's when you know a guy's locked in. So it's really good to see Jock swinging the bat the way he is.
Yeah, I think that's his big MO when people say they trade for Jock or Jock's an October player, that like teams generally, or like the reputation with Jock is like, even if he's struggling or even if he's slow or whatever, like the reason you really like a player like Jock Peterson is because when his switch is flipped, he's just as good as anybody at catching high heat and just turning a game around.
He is. And really good teammates. Like even when they're struggling, they continue to be good teammates. And what he can do, what he can contribute when he's not on the field or when he's not at his best, it's hard to quantify that. But the guys in that locker room, they know it. And I've heard high praise of Jock from a lot of his teammates. And that's just, that's one of the things you need on a team like that, and on any team. When you play as many games as you do, you need guys that keep it loose, and he's definitely one of those guys.
We got bag of the week, Colin. I think you said you want to take bag of the week this week.
Colin, you take it this week.
Yeah, bag of the week. We're going with Nick Plummer. Obviously, minor leaguer that's just been called up by the Mets. Drafted by the Cardinals in 2015. Spent 6 seasons in the minor leagues. It's come up Sunday night. Phillies took the lead. Castellanos home run, of course. 3-run homer off of Adam Ottavino. First pitch in the 9th inning, home run. Not only first hit, but first MLB home run for him as well. So after Sunday night and Monday, he's got 9 at-bats with 4 hits and 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. So he looks like a good little call up right now. And a lot of people are comparing his swing to Michael Conforto, who has been banished by the baseball league. So,
Man,
good for Nick Plummer.
Yeah, really good for him. And maybe that's just, it's the Mets year, Colin. Maybe it's the Mets year.
Yeah, you're just seeing every single time these guys coming up who aren't major roles in the team, and they're just producing at the right times. So it's just one of those things that everything keeps going our way, and I'm thrilled about it.
There's a lot of incentive, to want to be a part of what the Mets are doing too. So, good for Nick.
Yeah, good for the Mets. We're real happy for him. No, I do like the idea that minor leaguer grind and kind of getting called up, and you watch. I would imagine if you're in AAA and you're watching the big club and all the success, that makes you probably want to get there closer, faster, and or maybe there's that sense of you're not missing out, but you want to play better, you want to contribute to the big league club. Nicky Plummer gets his first chance, takes advantage of it. So we got to get something to him now that we've given him this award. So we got to,
we got to start sending guys stuff.
We should send him like a care package. We should have a bag of the week care package. And, all right, we're going to put some cashews in there. Cashews. Those are my favorite nuts. Beef jerky.
Cashew's your favorite nut.
Yeah, it's the number one nut. Cashew is the number one nut.
Mm-hmm.
No, nope.
It's probably 3 or 4 for me.
The texture, it's the fanciest nut.
Pistachios all day.
Pistachios.
All right, we'll come back next week. We have power rankings coming up next week. We'll do power rankings, sunflower seeds. We will do brands and flavors. But for now,
that's a good one.
We're going to get to power ranking here. I do want to acknowledge a team, though, that is not going to be in the power rankings. They are our first winner of Team of the Week award. And I'm going to the Baltimore Orioles. Now, this is interesting. I'm going to go a little bit outside. I'm going to go past 10 games since they promoted Adley Rutschman. They're 5-5, and their schedule over the last 18 has been grueling. It's 4 against the Yankees here, 3 against the Rays, 4 against the Yankees, 5 in Boston. And they just went 3 of 5 in Boston, winning the rubber match 10-0, absolutely fucking pounded them. And you really got to be paying attention to baseball to know this lineup. I mean, you look at some of these names. I feel bad for any casual baseball fan that just tuned in to watch the Orioles play against the Red Sox yesterday, because they're just sitting there scratching their head on Google all day. It doesn't matter. 5-5. The Orioles have played more games against teams above 500 than anybody else in baseball, and they continue to grind it out. And this is the type of culture you want to see when you know that you have studs coming. I got the vibe the Cubs did this a lot in 2014 as somebody watch a rebuild go well and stuff like this. When the culture changes, maybe you're not a playoff team this year and the wild card's not available, but going into the next year that you saw a lot of stuff you like, and there's stuff to build from. So hopefully the Orioles are enjoying this award. This is the first Team of the Week award. I'm proud of them. They made the call to Adley, and they're 5-5 since.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I just don't know, man. And there's so much that they need to do to improve on to be able to compete in that division. So maybe this is the start of it. I don't know. They're going to need a couple more arms too, to be able to combat those lineups. Adley's going to be great, but you need a lot more than just him.
Yeah, I feel bad when I project the future of the Orioles, and you're sitting here and we've done this stuff with Kevin already, and we've talked historically about just challenges developing pitching and stuff, but I'm going to take the positive route. Maybe they've learned from mistakes.
I hope so. And it just shows you that developing arms is very difficult. It's not an easy thing to do.
So let's get to power rankings, because the teams in the power rankings, these are teams that absolutely look at these teams. I think one theme across these top 5 is they absolutely have developed stud arms. I'm going to go top. I don't think there's any real debate about the top 3 for me. It's Dodgers, Yankees, Brewers. I got the Mets 4th. I got the Astros 5th. Now, Colin's going to be mad. I'll just give you, we can go through your top. My quick take.
They're in your 5. He can't.
Yeah, I know.
Mad.
But it's the Brewers, their pitching's coming together. They're hot. This is the hottest start through 50 games in the history of the Brewers. Brandon Woodruff has been a little slow relative to his career to start. And Corbin Burns just continues to get better and better. I just can't see a world where, in a 7-game series, their pitching's not right now, that their pitching isn't the best. Now I know DeGrom has to come back in Scherzer, but the Brewers, like, they get hot and they play a little bit of a weaker schedule compared to everybody else. And this very much is a team that can win high 90 games.
Agreed. I mean, that's why they are where they're at is because of their arms. They have a good bullpen. They have a nice lineup. And they're where they're at with Woodruff not pitching as well as he's capable of overall, but I'll still take him out there against just about anybody. Our five is very similar. I got the Dodgers, Yankees. I put the Mets at 3, Milwaukee at 4, and Houston at 5. Okay. Pretty understandable. I think, I wanted Anaheim, or I wanted the Angels to kind of show me that they can run away with the division. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Astros still are the team to beat in that division. Framber is doing what he's doing. I mean, you got Verlander. I just really like the Astros, and I really don't have to say much about the Dodgers and the Yankees. They're, I think run differentials are number 1 and 2 in baseball. The Mets, there's something special about the Mets this year. Colin feels it. I think a lot of people do feel it. Their ability to come back, their ability to, string hits together, get their big guys to the plate. It's a damn good team. And then, you kind of covered it with Milwaukee. I've always liked Milwaukee. I think that, St. Louis is going to pose some challenges, but I think that Milwaukee still wins that division.
Yeah, they have bats that can just get so hot. Like Milwaukee, maybe not like the most steady players week to week, but they've got players that can just like turn a series around. One player from Houston I want to shout out real quick, the shortstop Jeremy Pena is the guy. Maybe if you're not really paying too close attention day to day, you're seeing this guy play. I know a lot of people do know this guy. Fantasy baseball players and diehards, are very much in tune to Jeremy Pena, but not the casual fan. This is the 24-year-old that slid in for Carlos Correa. Why the Astros, people said like lowballed Correa the extension when he got to the market. They were very confident in this kid, Jeremy Pena. He's an interesting guy. He's played high school ball in Rhode Island, went to Maine, got drafted pretty high by the Astros and kind of accelerated through their system. There's something they really liked out of the shortstop from Maine. And now he's 24 years old and he's playing in an infield next to Altuve and Bregman and he's holding his own. And it's just like another perfect example of like why it doesn't matter with the Astros, where you can think that they're going to come down and then it's like, nope. Like people forgot, hey, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez and like so many of these good players that just come up where it's like, oh, well, Springer's with the Blue Jays. Like, dude, that's been years now. And like, it's just the days with Correa, like, yeah, that's over. Like Greinke's like those, but the Astros just continue to be a wagon and just shift like who those dominant young cheap guys are in their lineup. And so Astros probably going to be at the top for a long time coming.
Yeah. Well, too, it's a lot of it's character, like getting the right guys in the organization, guys with high character, and then guys that are coachable, guys that you can develop. That goes a long way. And, it's no surprise that the same organizations tend to have those type of guys on a year-to-year basis. It's not a coincidence. It doesn't happen by accident. And, the Astros are one of those teams that are really, really smart about who they bring in, who they draft, and who they have in charge of developing those young players.
I would love to be like a third rounder to the Astros. It has to be such a confidence booster, like being one of those top draft picks where it's like, you thought you were going to go in round whatever, and then the Astros call you up and they're like, hey, we really like you. It's almost gives me that vibe of like the seam shifted wake stuff where like the Giants are looking for something in particular. The Astros have this vibe where like they really know what type of player they're looking for.
Yeah.
And you brought up the Angels. I think it's we should talk just quickly about standings because we're coming out of the weekend. I think this is really like summer's about to start. So a lot of people like, where's your team exactly? And in the American League, there's just a lot of like 4.5, 5 game leads here. There's every single division kind of falls off once you get to like, 4 and 5 is trash. The East have the Blue Jays and the Rays up top competing with the Yankees. But other than that, there's just like a lot of 500 baseball across the board in the American League. It's very uninspiring.
It is. Yeah, you're totally right about that. And we talked a little bit about, the AL Central and, the White Sox not being able to get going, what's going on with Cleveland. Yeah, well, and give credit to Minnesota too. They're continuing to play well. Um, and the way the White Sox and Cleveland are playing, I don't know what's going on. What do you got? What do you got on that?
So I can't understand what's going on at the White Sox because the bats
I
are
can't
just
either.
so bad. And the White Sox to me are a team that can dominate in October. They're a team that can get to October and run through a 5-game series, run through a 7-game series, and then handily shut down somebody in the World Series. When you look at Cease, Giolito,
Yeah.
and Kopech. Kopech's numbers this year are
Kopech is nasty.
19 hits and 42 innings against 39 strikeouts. Like, you just can't square the ball up against this guy. He's got tons of confidence and he's just settling in. So it's like any level of run supporter, and they're getting bad production from Grandal. They're getting bad production from obviously Makata's been hurt. Eloy Jimenez has been hurt. Jose Abreu's been very consistent. He deserves a shout out. Andrew Vaughn looks pretty good. But the lineup's just been tough, and they just can't like string it together. It's just Luis Roberts been up and down. He should be coming back. You're just having too many injuries early in the season. Now, I just don't know though, how soon is it to hit a panic button on a number of these guys that are hitting, under 200 and just kind of look slow, and how much of it is, spring training was abbreviated, and how much of it is timing, how much of it is
you can't blame anything on spring training now. I mean, it's kind of time to go, right? So it depends on who you have behind them. Or you're gonna make a trade, or you're gonna try and make something happen now. I don't necessarily know what their farm system looks like, but sometimes you don't have better options behind them, so you kind of have to let them roll. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of their quality guys are, the farm system. Those guys are kind of up right now.
Yeah, and the ones that they might have, maybe they're too young. Maybe they don't want to push them to the big leagues yet. And some of that can be we don't want to start their clock, which is complete bullshit for me. But then at the same time, you don't want a guy, if you have a guy in high A that, you really like, do you want to push him to the big leagues quickly, or do you just kind of want to let his progression happen a little bit slower? So, that those are decisions that the front office has to make, but you can only watch certain guys struggle for so long before you have to get something done, unless you want to lose all chance of, potentially making the postseason altogether.
No, I think the White Sox too, like it's got to be hard, because when you look at their 1, 2, 3, you're like, dude, good luck putting it. I mean, honestly, I know they play the Yankees, and the Yankees, have done well against them, but like in a 5-game series or a 7-game series with the 1, 2, 3 from the White Sox, I see them so hard to beat. Not saying they're going to run away or whatever, but like they have to at least get to that point with momentum. And that comes back to the lineup. And if Anderson's going to miss significant time, then you're in June and you're like waiting for Grandal to get going. You're waiting for, Jimenez to get back and really fulfill his potential. And like, it can be at some point, then like it just gets a little too late. And it's just a really shitty situation for the White Sox, because they've waited this long. They've played, mediocre baseball for so long, and did a good job getting the rebuild and the right players and the talent, and, friendly deals. And they put this like great roster together that was just dynamite last year. And they're middle of the pack right now. They're a 500 team, and they're just plain and simple middle of the pack, can't get going. And I think baseball is way better if the White Sox are making noise. It's this like small market, big market team. Like they're the second team in a major market. And I think it's good for everybody to have a team like the White Sox that's fucking people up. But
it's really good. It's really good for the game. It's great for the city too. In 2017, I think the White Sox were really good. When they came to our place and we went there, like it was a different type of ball game. And that was fun. For the longest time, it's like one of the teams sucked or both teams sucked. So it just didn't have that same feel. So yeah, I mean, when both Chicago teams are good, or at least when one is really good, it's a great thing for baseball. It's good for the city. And with, their 1, 2, 3, yes, they have a ton of ability. And I like them against a lot of people, but there is some lack of experience there in those types of situations. Kopech is phenomenal. Obviously, Giolito and Dylan Cease. There is some inexperience there in those postseason situations. So we'll see how that goes. They got to get there first.
On the other side with the National League, I don't know if there's even really a division race in baseball across what we see in the NL Central. Like until the White Sox really get it going with the Twins, like that could be a good race. But really, just on the National League side, like as good as the Padres and the Giants can be, the Dodgers are so much better than anybody else in baseball. Their run differential is
they just
insane. That lineup's amazing. Mookie Betts is through the roof right now. It doesn't, even though it's competitive, they're just so
the Padres
better.
and the Giants are very good teams, but it just shows you how much better the Dodgers are. Like they are that good.
Any kind of like long dark horse here. I'm gonna take a stab. I don't hate like a big. I know we just talked like a lot about them with the bullpen, but I think at some point the Phillies just go on a massive run, win like 15-16.
I disagree. I would like to see it. I'd like to see that, division race become a little bit tighter. I'd like to see Atlanta, kind of creep up. I'd like to see the Mets ultimately win that division, but God, I just want to see these races a little bit closer. And Miami, I'd like to see them kind of inch their way a little bit closer. But hey, maybe that's just the fact that the Mets are playing such good baseball that nobody can catch them.
Yeah, and I should be clear with what I don't actually think the Phillies are going to rattle off 15-16.
No, I didn't
very much agree that the divisions are kind of spread. The competitiveness really, if you're looking for like a good division race, which to me is a great, like that's one of the best things baseball has to offer is, because it's so hard game to game. Are we going to get mad? You just kind of get to monitor it over the season. That's where like the real excitement gets, is following those standings. And we're not getting that this year. We're just not going to get it. We're going to get it from the NL Central. And if things turn around the AL Central, it'd be great. Another reason why we're not getting it in the West is because the Rangers have underperformed. And one of the reasons they've underperformed is the disastrous opening performance of Marcus Semien. And a lot of people have said he's not, this is a bad sign and this is a bust. And he just hit his first home run. He hit a grand slam.
Maybe that gets him going. But it's been bad for him. And I don't like to rag on players, but it's been really bad. And he's the kind of player who's gone through struggles before, pretty severely, trying to find his place at the big league level, and then made a huge transformation and put a lot of hard work in, and then turned himself into the player that he was. And hopefully he can regain that form. I mean, because the Rangers, without him producing, a lot more than he is, they're not gonna. I mean, they're going to struggle to win. I mean, they have guys that they're trying to develop at the major league level. They're not trying to develop a guy like Marcus Semien. They brought him in to be one of those guys, who could put up big numbers, in conjunction with a guy like Corey Seager.
So what a lot of people don't know about Marcus Semien too is he's a very streaky guy. He's a guy who gets hot and just goes on rampages. He was very slow to start the first 35 games of the season. I'll say over the last 12 games, the last 2 weeks, he's 15 for 49. That's a 306 average, 364 OBP, 429 slugging. 5 walks against 7 strikeouts, a small sample size, but like this sample size is the player that they signed. This is exactly the player that they want.
It is. Yeah, you're right about that. And he has to find a way to minimize those periods of struggle, and that's what really good players do, because everybody's going to struggle, but how much can you minimize that? If you go over 8, can you bust out of it and go 6 for 10? And that's what he's got to find a way to do.
Not an easy division to do it either in. So I guess for Rangers fans, it's this wasn't supposed to be a season where you're like, all right, we're going to compete and get to the playoffs and make some noise and all this stuff. You just want to see teams step forward. You want to see these guys play really well. And you want to see the guys that come up along the way throughout the season mesh with these guys. So you can kind of get a picture of like, all right, this is where the lineup's going to shape up. We've got Semien, we've got Seager up the middle, and we're going to, you at least get a sense of where that lineup's headed. And when these guys don't perform or give you that sense that it's not heading that direction, it can be really tough for Rangers fans. So I would just say my only advice through 2 months of the season, obviously stay as patient as you can. Like, enjoy the fact that Martin Perez is dominating. Enjoy the fact that you have like a couple cool stories coming up along the way. And
as bad as you feel like they've been, I mean, they're only 1 game under 500. They're 7 games back, which, I mean, it seems like a lot more than that. So it's not all that terrible. I mean, and there's still so much baseball to be played. who knows what can happen? I mean, could they be one of the teams that goes on a run like you were talking about the Phillies doing? I mean, maybe so. Maybe so.
Speaking of what's wrong with certain players, we would like Jake, to provide some insight into a Barstool Sports employee swing. Our guy Ben Mintz was down at the SEC tournament this past weekend. He got in the cages, and we were wondering if you could offer up like a little scouting report here. How does he stack up to you?
Yeah, I've got the video here. I'm watching it for the first time. Let's see. Wow, terrible balance. Okay, good take on the second one. He's so heavy on his front foot. I mean, he needs a little Pilates in his life. Maybe he's got no body control. Hands are way too low. It's not great. It's not great. You can tell he's cheating to the heater. He's super heavy on his front foot. It's not a great swing. It's not a great swing. He's built for the fastball only. We got to keep his weight in his hands back.
Mintz, you got 2.5 weeks. You're going to meet him in Omaha, I think. Yeah.
We'll see him out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. We'll get him out for BP too. I'll throw him some BP, and you have to, you got to meet with Cooper's team. I need some sort of inspirational speech out of you,
brother.
Something.
You see the jersey behind me. I'm nothing but walking motivation when it comes to this game and the youngsters. I love it. Any opportunity to compete.
These kids are good. These kids are good, but we're going to be facing some big boys in Omaha. This is a big tournament. I think there's like 60 teams that are going to be out there.
Is this like the best teams from all over come in, or you just got to pay the entry fee, or how does it work?
No, this will be a lot of the best teams in the country. So it'll be a nice test for them. I think they're guaranteed to play 6 or 7 games. But, if you lose the first 2 or 3 or 2 of the first 3, you're put in like consolation bracket and you don't have a chance to win the tournament. So our priority is to win 2 of the first 3 to be kind of set in a position to have a chance to win the tournament.
A couple other things just to close our post Memorial Day show here. There's some progress report stuff, new segment progress report. I'm interested. Which one of these do you think kind of jumps out as more of a significant accomplishment? People are saying Judge could hit 60 homers. Hader could save over 50 games. Jose Ramirez could get 150 RBIs. You're in the players union. Which one's going to get more respect?
Man, I love the Hader saving 50 games and Judge hit 60. I mean, if there's a park for him to do it in, it's in New York, and he's got 18, I believe now. I think that's something that could easily happen. I mean, you look at just the balls that he hits, where he gets to play, the lineup that he's in, he's going to get a lot of pitches to have a chance to, hit 60. I'm going with Judge hitting 60. I'm going to take that one. Yeah.
The only thing that's interesting about Ramirez is just the Indians are so bad and he's so good and he never strikes out. And we were talking about a little bit about how he just doesn't swing and miss. And
yeah. And what is his, how many strikeouts does he have versus walks?
25 walks to 15 strikeouts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he puts the ball in play, and an adjusted
OPS I think it's like 197 or something. So you basically are hitting 10 guys in the lineup. You basically get like 2 out, or he's like worth 2 outs or something when you get him out. He's so fucking good. I got to watch my mouth. Colin, progress report for the Mets. What's the big hook we're following now?
I mean, there's no hook, fellas. It's the same thing that's been going on. This team has got a 9.5 game lead on the Braves. Everyone else is, everyone in the division is under 500. It's a early lead, but it's a nice, healthy lead. It's double the lead that anyone in the majors has. So the team's looking good.
And it gives you a little more breathing room. It gives you a little breathing room and not necessarily have to rush DeGrom and Scherzer back, which is probably one of the most important things about that. And it looks like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like DeGrom and Scherzer could come back at about the exact same time.
They're looking at the same time. They've said end of June. I don't see the rush. I say let's just keep them through the All-Star break. And if something bad happens in the next month, we do have a very difficult schedule. We're out in the West Coast the next 2 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, all is good in Mets land. To think that they're doing this without DeGrom and Scherzer right now is, you got to be happy.
Last progress report went through some of the numbers and comments and stuff. Appreciate everybody in the audience following, subscribing, unsubscribing, resubscribing. It's always a good time to remind you guys you can do that now and again. Always go to YouTube, check out the YouTube so you can see the Ben Mincy swing, Jake breaking it down. We like YouTube, and there's going to be YouTube content coming when we get on the road together. We do some stuff. Go to the ranch, go to Omaha. So now get in on the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right. All right, we're moving starting 9 segment to close out Tuesday's show, and we are obviously the starting 9 segment. We're still continuing to evaluate name change. Baseball sounds like the clubhouse leader.
Are we liking that?
I like it.
We could make a pretty nice logo with that.
Personally, I love it. I mean, I'm committed to being bald. This is a lifestyle I've chosen. I've blogged about this several times. We talked about in our opening episode. You're bald as fuck. It ain't going anywhere. So
I have more hair than you, though.
I know, but should we make Colin shave his head?
No, he won't get near as much ass. I think he should leave it. Because especially that one thing that I miss the most is when you have a hat on backwards and you have a nice head of hair like that, you can just see it come out the top. Don't you miss that, Carl?
Yeah.
We do. It looks good. You know what? And I caught we were at the ranch and I had my hat on backwards and we were we went to grab food. I don't remember who I was talking to. Damn, I had a few drinks, but I had my hat on backwards and whoever I was talking to just kept glancing at my hairline. I'm like, hey, can you stop looking up there? My eyes are down here. So, it is what it is. But when I don't shave my head, when I let it grow out for like a month, it looks like shit. So as soon as we get off the show, I'm gonna go bick it. So I'll look good for the next one.
You always look great. That kind of reminds me, I was out at a golf course this past week, and they told me in the pro shop that you own the course record for most money spent in that pro shop.
Well, and the reason was it wasn't just all me. I was playing with a couple other guys, and I bought all their stuff. But I got a bag, a hat, a hoodie, and it was at Old Elm. And I'll wear the hoodie. It's a beautiful hoodie. And the logo, how good is the logo?
Oh,
it's a great logo. But then I was playing with, I think, Zach Davies and maybe Ian Happ was with me, and I bought them like a hat and a shirt and just a bunch of shit, So when courses are nice enough to let you play for free, the least you could do is buy a bunch of shit at the pro shop.
Yeah, no, I agree. I went to that pro shop and they were like, hey, congrats on the show. We've been listening to the pod. Everything's great. Tell Jake, the guys at Old Elm, appreciate his business. And I was like, yeah, no, I know he likes coming out here. And they're like, yeah, no, he might like the pro shop more than the course. It's a great course, like playing golf, some golf content coming down the road. So.
Yeah, we got to. And I got, one of the Old Elm balls up here in the case too.
Golf merch too. Think about that. All right. We talked earlier about the slap with Tommy Pham, some fantasy football stuff. We've done starting 9s before for like golf, for like if we had, guys we want to play golf with. This starting 9 is similar but different. We're putting together a starting 9, a lineup 1 through 9 of guys we would start a fantasy football league with. Guys that we were like, you know what, this would be fun group chat. This would be the type of chat that would get the guys going. Maybe nobody ends up getting physically assaulted before a game, just having fun with the boys. I'll kick it off. You said his name just now. I'm taking Zach Davies as my pitcher. I've always wanted to talk shit to Zach Davies. I know he's supposed to be like a super cool guy. He seems very, very relatable, regular Joe, not too intimidating. Somebody I'd like to jaw with Zach Davies, even though I know he's a super cool guy who wouldn't jaw back with me. Catcher, I'm taking AJ Pierzynski. You need a flaming asshole in a fantasy group chat. He's super competitive. He'd be hawking the fucking trade deadline like crazy. First baseman, I'm taking Sean Casey. You need a super nice guy. You need somebody who can
such a good pick.
Somebody who could slide in and be like, hey fellas, I think you got to tone it down, or that's not really what Carl meant. Don't take it too serious. My second baseman, I'm taking one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. I'm taking Orlando Hudson, just a smooth operator, real chatty guy. Orlando Hudson would probably dominate the league, and I just see him like winning first place by a huge margin and running his mouth the whole time and it just being awesome. Kevin Youkilis, the third baseman who doesn't really know what's going on, but just wants to hang out with the guys and do the draft party and play golf. Playing shortstop. This one was a stretch. I took David Eckstein just because I know David Eckstein's always going to be grinding wire waiver. You need a guy in a fantasy league who's always sending the trades out, who's always trying to get his team better. To me, that's David Eckstein. And then the outfielders, Hap, just because you need a sweet dude. And if you do a golf trip around the draft, like he'll know all the courses and set it up.
Yeah, and he'll put up a 71 for you.
Pat Burrell. Just I don't know why. I just want to hang out with Pat Burrell. Like I want to talk shit to Pat Burrell. I want to hear Pat Burrell stories. I want Pat Burrell to get mad at AJ Pierzynski. And then last position, you need someone on the team everyone can rally around and make fun of in the group chat, text separately. Like, can you believe that guy? Like, man, his team sucks. And I'm taking Hunter Pence. There's nobody I want to talk shit more to than Hunter Pence. He's a great player. He tries super hard. One of those like all effort, max out guys. I've heard some funny stories about him in spring training, just running poles so hard. And anytime they'd have like the team do any type of exercise, he would always do it like it was senior year of high school and you're doing the conditioning test. He's just a savage. So I want him in my fantasy league so I could talk shit to him.
Okay. That's a good list. All right. Starting pitcher. I'm going Ryan Dempster. Just a funny, witty guy. I feel like he would have, like during the fantasy draft, would have just hilarious comments for everybody talking shit about their picks. So we'll go Dempster there. For my catcher, I'm going Alex Avila, and I have personal experience with him in a fantasy draft. Again, I was just there, for the camaraderie. He knew every player that was drafted, where they went to college, and had a funny tidbit of information about them, and also was talking shit to the person that drafted him. So Alex Avila, really, really funny guy, likes his bourbon and cigars. So we're going with Avila. Let's go first baseman. I'm going with Rizzo. Just he's a clown. He's funny. He talks a lot of shit. I don't know if he knows a lot about football. He might know a little bit, but not as much as he thinks he does. Second baseman, I went with Chase Utley. Just a grinder. Love watching Chase play. Never got to spend any time with him, but I would like to just kind of chop it over Chase. I feel like he'd be a good guy in the fantasy text. A great guy for the league. Third baseman, I'm going Ryan Zimmerman. He seems like a stat guy, like he knows a ton about football. Kind of a nerdy type fantasy guy, just with all the stats. So I feel like he'd be a front runner to win the league. Shortstop, Jimmy Rollins. Again, love Jimmy. Feel like he's a good shit talker. Great stories, great ball player, probably loves fantasy football. So Jimmy Rollins. Left fielder, we're going Tommy Pham. We need a little bit of drama in the league. Keep you on your toes. Hopefully non-violent confrontations. But yeah, we'll go Tommy. We'll give him another shot. I put Jock in center field. How do you not have Tommy and Jock in the same league? Jock, I guess Jock likes to fuck with your money, so we'll see how that goes. Jock's great. Love Jock. Always have, always will. Need him in my league. And then right fielder, we go Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, again, just a phenomenal player. He's good at everything, so he could probably play football. And I'm sure he's a big part of the fantasy league in LA. And yeah, just a good dude. So we're gonna round it out with Mookie Betts in right field.
It's a good nine. That's a competitive nine. I like that you went with Tommy Pham and Jack Peterson, just double down on the controversy. Where I'm like, hey, why don't we put a league together that wouldn't really have that level of controversy? You just go right back to it.
Yeah. I feel like it was the right way to go.
Colin, anybody in particular between two lists that you would banish from your fantasy league?
I think you're asking me because he put Chase Utley on the list. I mean, yeah, I do way worse than banish Chase Utley.
Is he your least favorite player from the NL East?
Yeah, I would say he's my most hated because there's players that like I said, I just don't want Mets pitching to and like stuff like that just kill us offensively. But Chase Utley is just, I mean, like it's one of those things where like he's a scumbag, but like he's a good villain too. You know what I mean? But I gotta hate him. Like I can't.
Why is he a scumbag? Why don't you like Chase?
I mean, he broke my shortstop's leg. He's a dirt. I mean, he's done way worse than that, but he's a dirty player. And just going to that play in particular, slide wasn't anywhere near the bag. Took him out directly, slid after the bag. I mean,
that was
he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
Well, this is a
rough.
good closing point to the show, because my last question for you guys, we kind of get into summer here, is this is usually a time where like your team gets killed by a certain player. For me growing up as a kid, it was always Carlos Lee came into Wrigley Field and just absolutely destroyed the Cubs. Then obviously Pujols, but Carlos Lee, I mean, whether he was on the White Sox or the Brewers, just seemed like we could never get him out. Now, I never like hated Pujols either. I wasn't like, oh my God, this guy. He was just so good and dominant that here comes this guy. Were there teams when you were a kid, Jake, with the Rangers, or a player like as you were coming up through the big leagues or whatever, when you got to the Cubs, you're like, man, we just cannot get this guy out for the life of us?
Well, I had a lot of those guys in Baltimore. A lot of those guys in Baltimore. I couldn't get JD Drew out or Adrian Gonzalez when I was in Baltimore for whatever reason. And it's probably because I was just throwing lukewarm heaters down the middle and 2-0 counts. That probably had a lot to do with it. But my time in Baltimore, JD Drew, Adrian Gonzalez, extremely difficult outs for me. And then in Chicago, I mean, Joey Votto. I mean, regardless of how the Reds were, like, I just struggled to get that guy out. He just always put a professional at bat on my ass and would spoil pitches. He was really good at those like emergency hacks, kind of choking up when he's behind in the count, just fouling off good pitches, waiting for you to make a mistake. So Joey Votto was a thorn in my side for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Thorn in many sides. First ballot Hall of Fame career. Love watching Joey Votto play.
Kind of feel bad for him, don't you? Kind of stuck there.
Oh, with 2 weeks left in the season last year, the Cincinnati Reds were a half game out of the wild card, and Joey Votto was just doing his thing with Cincinnati and still grinding and carrying a ragtag group of guys. And it's like
doing everything he can.
On any other team, literally any other team, I should say, other than like the Orioles and the Pirates and stuff, Joey Votto would be considered just like a much bigger superstar in the game.
Much bigger. I compared him where I was having this conversation with a couple of my buddies, very similar with like a guy like Nick Markakis. You put him, like, imagine putting him in like Boston or New York or LA for those years. And imagine the types. I mean, I think he was a 290 career hitter. Just imagine how many more homers and RBIs or like that he would have had over the course of his 15-year carear.
Yeah, Markakis might be one of the most underrated players of our lifetime.
Very, very underrated.
We should do everything we can to get Joey on the show too. I think that to me is like a golden goose interview. I'd love to sit down and talk baseball with Joey Votto.
I don't think we'd have a problem with that.
Okay.
I mean, he just joined like social media for the first time this year. So maybe he's turning the corner and want to do a little bit more media stuff. We'll reach out to him.
We are going to have a Canadian on our next show. Ryan Dempster is going to be joining us for Thursday. That should be a good conversation, especially just drafting him for the fantasy league. So maybe we should pitch him on putting together a starting 9 fantasy league or something.
Yeah, for him to give us one.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if he does fantasy. We'll have to ask him.
That's it. Good show, guys. Hey, Memorial Day weekend's no joke coming out of it. A lot of baseball going on, a lot of stuff going on in life. So we'll be back on Thursday, a little later with this show release. Thank you, Colin, for getting this out. We'll be back on Thursday with Dempster. Some more segments. We're going to do some Q&A. I don't think the voicemail line is set up, but there should be a mailbag segment. And keep your eyes peeled for a special announcement regarding teams and their coverage on starting 9. We'll just say that.
Awesome. Well, good show, guys. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for being part of Starting 9. Love you, Colin. Love you, Carl.
Love you too, Jake. Until next time.